Are you familiar with the term authorized representative? What about advanced directives? If not, you're going to want to listen. So grab a pen and paper because you're going to want to write this down. This topic is actually inspired by a question that I received from a client recently. She wanted to know what was the best way she could have the ability to talk to her mother's insurance plan on behalf of her mom. So I asked her, do you have or have you considered becoming an authorized representative, and have you ever heard of the term advanced directives? Authorized representative is basically a document that you could put in place as an insurer to basically say, I want this person to have the ability to speak on my behalf for all matters related to my health insurance plan. And it's simply a 2-page document which you get directly from the plan. So you would call them and ask them to send this form. Make sure you're with the insured member, because if you are not, you will have a lot of difficulty and they will not be able to communicate to you at all because of HIPAA. So when you ask for this form, they can send it to you, or to the member rather, and at that point the member basically signs saying that they authorize for so-and-so to be able to communicate on behalf of all matters related to insurance directly to the insurance company. That is, in a nutshell, what an authorized representative is. Now let's get into advanced directives. So advanced directives are documents that basically you can put in place in saying that in the event that something happens related to health and you're not able to communicate, it's basically a set of documentation that you have laid out for your family members and your loved ones, and as well as medical providers, to have the ability to know what your wishes would be. These wishes are things like IV nutrition and hydration, aka a feeding tube, whether or not you would want to be on a ventilator, and things of that nature. So that is basically what advanced directives are. Part of this advanced directives, one of the crucial items that I like to educate people about is a healthcare proxy. This is a legal document that anyone over the age of 18 that has the ability to make decisions for themselves are able to put in place a paper that specifically says they identify 1 to 2 people to make healthcare related decisions for them in the event that they're unable to do so. So what this means is, if for some reason a person becomes unable to communicate for themselves, they are able to have the choice to have someone be appointed to be their healthcare proxy. Depending on where you live, depending on the state, they have different terms for it. It could be called healthcare proxy. I know that is the term in New York. In certain other places, it might be called power of attorney for health. As far as the healthcare proxy goes, this could be a document that you have forever, or you can always change. Nothing is finite. You can always update your healthcare proxy. But just remember that depending on when you did it, so let's say I did a healthcare proxy January of this year. Now, a year from now, maybe I had a change of who I wanted to be my healthcare proxy. So at that point, I would update it and I would change it. I could definitely change that one and say I want to appoint another person instead, and that is absolutely fine. But just remember that the old one then no longer becomes valid. Now, with regard to healthcare proxies, it's important that you have an open conversation with your loved one, whoever your proxy or agent may be that you decide to appoint. And just having a conversation about your specific wishes with how you would want to be treated in regards to health. For example, whether or not you would want to be resuscitated, whether or not if something happens and you needed to have a feeding tube, would you want that? Whether or not you would want IV hydration and nutrition, whether or not you would want to be on a ventilator. These are all things that you would need to have a thorough discussion to your loved one about before choosing your healthcare proxy. And it really just states out very specifically how you would or would not want to be treated in the event that something happened and you were unable to communicate for yourself. And that's the thing with healthcare proxies that I feel is a big misconception, is that people think that just because they have a healthcare proxy, it's always valid. It only becomes valid if for some reason the person that is ill or the person that's having some sort of medical crises is not able to communicate. That is where the healthcare proxy becomes helpful, in the sense that then it basically designates a specific person to have the ability to make decisions on behalf of the person that is maybe in the hospital or that individual that's having that medical crisis. I want to highlight that I am only discussing healthcare proxy as far as the advanced directives, but understand that there are other items that are included in advanced directives, including a MOLST form, DNR, and living will. And in another video, we will discuss those much more in depth. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for the next video. There will definitely be a part 2 to this video.